Hello, welcome to Microservices Deployment Series Part 2. In this part, we are going to learn how to containerize the application using Docker and deploy those microservices into orchestrator tool such as Minikube. In our previous lesson, we have already discussed how to containerize the applications and we have deployed it into Docker using the Docker CLI and Docker Compose. So in this lesson, we'll focus on how to deploy these microservices into the orchestrator tool Minikube. There are many different orchestrator tools are available, such as Minikube, Kind, that are local to our system, and we can use those orchestrator tool to deploy microservices for our development, or we can do our POC or demos. But if we want to deploy microservices for organization level, then in that case, we have to use the managed services like AKS, EKS, and GKS, like AKS for Azure Kubernetes Service, EKS for Elastic Kubernetes Service, that is for AWS, and GKS for Google. So those are the cloud-based orchestrator services that we can use for deploying our microservices. If you want to create our own cluster, then we can use Kubedium. So using that, we can set up our own cluster for deploying microservices. But in this part, we'll focus on how to use Minikube to deploy the microservices. So in order to do that, what I have, like the previous lesson, I have considered those four microservices: order service, product service, storefront, and message queue. And using that, I'm trying to demonstrate how we can deploy these microservices into Minikube. So before to that, we need for this session we need to install kubectl um, tool in our system. So that is required to communicate to the cluster for doing any kind of deployment or, or getting any information from the cluster. So there are a lot of commands available that I have already mentioned here, and we'll see how we can use these commands to communicate to the cluster server. So before to that, we need to, if you have not installed, then we can use this URL and you can install this tool in your respective system. So you can go through this portal and try to follow the instructions and deploy the tool. If there are a lot of other informations available online, you can go through that. I'm not discussing that how to install and configure kubectl in in the systems. And here I have mentioned, and these are the different commands available. Kubectl commands are available. Uh, Apart from this, we need also to install Minikube. You can use this URL here I have mentioned. Using this, you can install to your respective system. Then you can configure also. And here in Minikube, there are also many commands. I have noted down here all these things, and we'll discuss how we can use while creating and deploying our uh, containers and microservices. Okay. Okay. So before to that, you can see I have already deployed Minikube, and also I have deployed kubectl tool in my system. So before doing, deploying the microservices, one thing we need to do is we have to create the cluster. So for that, we can use this command minikube start that will set up a cluster in our in this host. Okay, so let it continue. And also for this, we need our Docker images for the services, the three services here we have using, and the other service message queue that we will download from the Microsoft Container Registry. Okay, so so here we have to build these three Docker images. You can see I have mentioned the path here that is from source and order service. So this path is basically point to where our Docker file is available. You can see here source, order service, and under this I have this Docker file. So it will use this Docker file and create the Docker image for the order service. Okay, so similarly for product service, this is the path to get the Docker file, and for storefront it will get the Docker file from this path. Okay, so once these Docker images are created, we need to push these Docker images to any of the registry. We can push it into Docker Hub, that is a public uh, Docker, image repository. You can also push it into private registry like Azure Container Registry or EKS, Elastic Container Registry, ECS, Elastic Container Registry for AWS. Okay, and for that, what we have to do, we have to tag our images. Here, if you can see, I have mentioned the username of my Docker Hub. Okay, and with this, I have creating one version of this. Okay, so what I'm doing here, basically, I'm using this image. What we have created here, we have created this order service. So by default, it will take latest one. So it will create a Docker image with version latest. So I'm using that latest version of the image, and I'm tagging it to my Docker Hub username with a version. Okay, so it is same for all these three. Then what we have to do, we need to log into our Docker Hub. We can use this command to log into your Docker Hub. Then we need to push the images to the Docker Hub. For that, we can use this command docker push, and we have to mention this path, whatever we have tagged here. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, the Minikube is created. Okay, let's see. Get node. You can see here, yeah, this is already created, and we can see the node name is Minikube. Okay, so this type of control plane, and some version is something. Okay, so here, yeah, so it is all already created. So our cluster is ready. Now what we have to do, let's do one thing. We need to build our images. Okay, before to that, we have to also start your Docker desktop. Okay, because I'm using Docker service for creating this Minikube cluster, and you can see images. So here, if we see, once you create the Minikube, we can see like the images. We can find the image like this. It is running. Okay, this is the Minikube container that just now I created. Okay. Now let's create the Docker images. For that, what I have to do is let's go to this command list. Yeah, to create these Docker images, let me run this, and so directly you can paste it, and it will create the Docker images one by one. Okay, it will take a couple of minutes to complete all these three, to build all these three Docker images. Okay, so along with this, what we need to do is, um, uh, so once that Docker images are created, we need to push into the uh, Docker Hub, and in order to deploy it into the Minikube, we can use the kubectl command line tool. That tool, basically, it will communicate to the cluster, and it will help in provisioning, creating the containers, or running the microservices. Okay, that we'll see how we can do. So in order to deploy these microservices, there are two ways we can do. We can do imperative way and declarative way. So imperative way means we only use use the kubectl commands. Through using the kubectl commands, we can create our microservices. That is imperative way. Declarative way means we need to declare it in a YAML file. You can see here, I have created these manifest files here for all these services. I have order, product, rabbit message queue, and storefront. Okay, and another config, that is nothing. We are using these plugins for the rabbit message queue. Okay, so for that, these are the manifest file I have created, and that will use while we creating the microservices using a declarative way. So that will discuss. uh, if now it is all the images are got created, if you can see it, just type docker images. You can see the storefront, product, service, and order service. These three just now created. Okay, it shows 4 days because the same image with the name I have already created before. So that is still taking considering that existing one, and um, it shows that the days when it created. Okay, so you can see, and here it also in the Docker desktop. You can see it is created here. Okay, now next step, what we have to do is we need to, once that is done, then we need to um, tag it. So we can go and tag this. Let me just run this. I'll copy this and do the tagging here. Okay, now if we'll do Docker images, right, we can see the tag, you can see 100, right, it got created here. Even desktop also will see this, these are all created 100 version 100 tag. Okay, so that is done. Now what we have to do, we need to push it into the Docker hub. If you go, I have already logged in to my Docker hub. It's my Docker hub and it's my username is E880613. This is my username for the Docker hub. So using that, I have tagged here. Okay, so you need to make it like a username and the name of your service and the version what you have to mention. Next, what I have to do, what I have just created, the same thing. I need to push it to the Docker hub. Let me push everything all together. Let me copy it and so it is going to push to the Docker hub. Now, if you go here and we'll refresh this. Okay, let's go to any of these. You can see, yeah, you can see here one tag 100 got created. Okay. Similarly, if we go to any other one also, storefront also, you can see there will be see all. We can see. Okay, it is still not pushed. Okay, it is there, not pushed. So let me refresh it again. Yeah, it's got created now. Okay, so the images are already, available in the Docker hub. So from there we can use that image and we can deploy to the Minikube cluster. So let's do the imperative way first. So one thing here you have to do, as you have in the previous lesson, if you remember, we have done these things. What we have done, we have created a we have created the we have built the images like this, and we have run the images using docker run. Okay, and these are the parameters we have used for creating rabbit message queue. Okay, similarly for order, we have these messages we have used, parameters, and product service, and this is storefront. Okay, similarly, in order to deploy into to the cluster, okay, what we need to do, if we are using imperative way, here also, since our rabbit message queue, it is using the plugins, right? So for that, in order to provide the plugins to the rabbit message queue service, we need to create a config map. Okay, so that config map, we need to use like the command is kubectl create config map, and the name of the config map is rabbit enabled plugins. And in these plugins, we are adding three different plugins. Okay, so for that, we can create this config map in our cluster. Okay, so for that, what I have to do is, our cluster is available. If you see, uh, just now I have shown you that we have the node. Okay, get node, we have this node is available, and okay, if you see the port, there is no ports available. Okay, now if we'll deploy this config map, right, let me just run this command. Okay, it says that it is already exist. Okay, because I have created before, so this is a exist. So if you can go, if we check if we, whether it exists or not, then we can type this command k for kubectl. I have created an alias for this. Okay, get config map. You can see this is already exist. Okay, now let me create the rabbit message queue. So if you see here, mainly while deploying any microservice, there are mainly two parts. One is the deployment part and service part. So deployment part, what it does is basically it manages the pods. Okay, if a replica is more, right, there may be multiple pods that is running for the same microservice, and it will try to make sure to keep that desired state. Okay, I mean, if we are deploying or running two pods for a microservice, so it is the responsibility of the deployment to always keep two replicas of that pod. That means if any of the pod got crashed, right, it automatically create a new one. So this is called self-healing. So that is the advantage of using the Kubernetes. Okay, and the service is nothing. It is basically expose the pod or the microservice or the container to the internal or external traffic. Okay, so this is the two things that while uh, deploying the microservices, right, we need to um, understand, and we need to focus on this too, how we can do it by using the imperative way or declarative way. Okay, so in order to deploy to the rabbit message queue, you can see kubectl create deployment. This is the command we are using for deploying a rabbit message queue, and this is the image, and we are downloading it from the Microsoft container registry, MCR. Okay, Microsoft container registry. This is already available, and we are downloading. It will download from there, and it will create one replica. I mean, only one pod for this rabbit message queue. Okay, let me run this command. Not copied. Let me just copy it properly. Okay, so it's just created. Next, what we have to, we have some other values are there, right? Like if you see the parameters here, we have few environment variables. We have the uh, port numbers we have assigned here. Okay, so these also need to be created. So in order to create those, we can set that, like kubectl set environment. We can do this way, and we can set it. Similarly, you can set some resources, like if you assign some CPUs or memory, you can do, but it's optional. If you want, we can assign that. I mean, it's the how much memory or CPU that you are going to assign to your pod, right? So that you need to mention here. Okay, but it's optional. You can use this, and we need to add some pods to that, right? So for pod, we can use this way, or we can also using uh, even we can use set environment. Not sure, but I can use this patch deployment to um, use a JSON file, and using this we can set the port number to the deployment. Okay, so it is patched. I mean, the deployment is already created, but we are just adding some different features or some parameters. Similarly, add node cluster. We are adding the uh, deployment is, we are adding a selector here. Okay, let's execute this. And you know that we have a volume, that rabbit message queue, that what we have created in the top, right? So that you need to mention for that rabbit message queue to access that um, plugin. Okay, so let's execute this here. Yeah, so it got created. So now if we type kj pod, we can see in the rabbit message queue got created, right? Okay, next, create a service. So how we can create the service? We can use this kubectl expose. Okay, so this will basically, it will expose this port number to into the uh, to network. Okay, whether it is internal or external, depending the type of the um, service type, uh, it will expose to the internal or external. Okay, let's create this. Similarly, this way we can do it for the order service. So let's execute this service. We can create like this by using executing this command. Then product, in order to create the deploy the product, we can use this command. And the product service, it can execute this way. Now the last one is storefront, and service is this. Okay, so that's all done. Now Let's see how many pods it got created. You can see here we have four pods are running here. Okay, you can see, and if you see the services, we can see these four services also available: storefront, rabbit message queue, product service, and other service. Okay, this Kubernetes is the default one, that is for Minikube. Okay, cluster. And yeah, and if you see get deployment, we can see also there will be four deployments got created, right? So if you want to see everything, then you can just type get all. And here if you can see this, these are the pod. Okay, these are all services, these are deployments, and this is replica set. Okay, so just remember here I have not mentioned any namespace, but you can provide a namespace as well. In this case, if you are not mentioning a namespace, by default it will there will be a default namespace, so it will use that default namespace and deploy into the default namespace. Okay, so if you want to see what are the default namespaces are available, you can just type get namespace. You can see this is the default one, and these are all system generated default namespaces. Okay, so here everything whatever we just created, the deployment pods and everything got created under this default. Okay, we can type it like this also: get all minus namespace default. So if you are deploying to a particular namespace, like suppose you have created dev, test, prod, something like that, then you have to mention explicitly the namespace here as a parameter. Okay, so like this, you have to mention -n namespace and dev, prod, or whatever. Okay, now we have. So here what we have done is we have deployed the microservices into Minikube cluster using uh, imperative way. Okay, imperative means only using the kubectl command itself. Okay, and now in order to access that, what we can do is we can port forward this one, because if we see we have we are using this is our target port. Okay, so this port should uh, we have to port forward to this one to 80, because the service is listening to port number 80, so this 80 should point to 80. Okay, so for that we have to use this command. Now it is, you can see it is running now. If you go on any of other one of these console, then we can call localhost 8080. We can see here this is the value we are getting. So this value it just took it from our storefront application. If you go to the indexes HTML, you can see this is the text. Okay, so while creating this Docker image, right, we have I mean this is from we have already created the Docker image of this uh, microservice, and we have posted it in the Docker uh, hub. Okay, from there it is uh, downloaded in the using the kubectl imperative command and running in our Minikube cluster. Okay, yeah, that's all. It is this, and if you want to run from here also, you can do it. Just type localhost. You can see this is the application that is coming up. Okay, and there is another command if you can use, right, Minikube service. Okay, let's see how. If you do Minikube and the service name, what it does is it will open a browser and it will run that application. You can see it open in a web page. Okay, this is our front end application storefront. Okay, so this what we have done is uh, we just now running our microservices in imperative way by using the kubectl um, commands. Now let's do the next part. Let's uh, deploy the microservices in declarative way. Okay, so in order to do declarative way, in that case what we have to do is we have to create some manifest file. So these are nothing, we have to create YAML files, and there we have to mention the deployment as well as the service. So for each of the service, these two parts we need to create. It is not mandatory, but for our mm, for our clarity, right, we better to use two different file to segregate, like what is the deployment part, what is the service part. Okay, but we can combine both in a single ML file. Okay, and if we are using a single ML file, then just start with the three dots as a separation. Okay, and yeah, you can see here I have already created those, and these are all under this under this manifest folder. This config is nothing, it will create the this will create the config map object. Okay, where we are just creating a volume from where the rabbit message queue read these plugins. And in order, we have this deployment YAML file. You can see this is our deployment YAML file. The kind is deployment, and here we have mentioned the replica. What is the replica? And in this case, we have this selector. Okay, now we have labels, and in this container is basically our pod. Okay, so what is the name of the container, what pod it should do, what is the image it should use. If we see here, we are in the image, right? I'm just mentioned the path where it is available. So I have mentioned this is my Docker hub path. Okay, this is the path where this image is available in Docker hub. If we go here, right, this is the path. Okay, E806, we can go to the uh, order here, order service, product service, and storefront. So that path is mentioned here, and these are the environment variables. We can go through that, how we can add into our manifest file. And remember, here we have used init containers. This is another pod we have created, and this basically what it does is like it will just check whether the rabbit message queue microservice is available or not. So it is keep on checking that. Once that is available, then this order service microservice will spin up. I mean, it will create. Otherwise, it will not be. It will become available. Okay. So because the order service usually depend upon the rabbit message queue. Okay. So for that reason, this is one container that it is keep checking. So this will execute fast. It will create a init container pod, and this keep checking to the availability of the rabbit message queue. So once that is available, then it will automatically get um, exit. I mean, it will the pod will get exit, and it will create the order service will get created. Okay. Similarly, the service, it is the kind is service, and it is listening to this pod 3000. Okay, and here the selector. This is important thing. So to which deployment it is going to point to. So this is nothing. It's order service here. It is mentioned this app name. Okay. Similarly, we have this product deployment and product service, and this is for average message queue. Here you can see the volume. It's nothing that what we have created in this config. In this config, what we have created, that is getting referred in the here as a volume. Okay, and we are mounting this like this. Okay, this is for memory, how much we are allocating to the pod. These are the environment variable that rabbit mess. I mean the username password. Even in our while creating the imperative way, right, we have mentioned this here, right, as an environment. Okay. Yeah, and rabbit, this is rabbit service, and you can see this is also the kind is service, and these are the ports that it is uh, exposed to. Okay, and the last one is storefront. Okay, and here if we see this service is exposed to port 80, listening to port 80. Okay, and yeah, uh, now what we have to do. So let me just clean up this. Okay, if you see, to clean that, what I can do is I have to delete everything, right? So let me delete. Okay, delete all. minus all. So what it will do is basically it will delete all the deployments, pods, services, okay, and replica sets from the cluster. You can see it is getting deleted. Pods are got deleted. It is deleting the services. Now deployments are getting deleted. Yeah. Okay, let it delete. So next in order to deploy in using the declarative way, right? So we need to create this manifest file. Then we can use kubectl apply, and this F stands for file, where we can mention the path where our manifest file or the declarative file is available. Okay, so one is under the manifest and config folder, right? And for rabbit message queue, it is under rabbit message queue folder, right? So it will take whatever the ML files are there, it will try to deploy all the ML files. Okay, or you can also do it keeping all these YAML files in one directory, and you can deploy all together at a time. Okay, so but here I just made it in different way. I mean, to make it segregate, to just to make it keep it in different folders. Okay, so now you can see everything's got deleted. Now let me create this one. I think it still is available. Let me just try it. It's unchanged because it is already there. Okay, I have not deleted. Now create the rabbit message queue. Both deployment and service got created, and other let it created. Then product. Okay, so all the services and the deployments and the services got created. Now if you want to see, just type get all. Sorry. Okay, yeah, it is. So everything got created, right? Now if you want to deploy a Minikube, suppose you want to see the application, we can directly type Minikube service storefront. Okay, it will try to open in a browser, so our application is running. Okay, we can also do those port forwarding, and I can access it. But when we are going to deploy in any uh, public or any of the cloud service cluster, right? In that case, we can use load balancer. We'll discuss how we can do that in our future classes. Okay, yeah. And if you see, there are a lot of other than the there are a lot of kubectl commands. You can see. Let's go to the kubectl commands here. Okay, so that you can see the kubectl version, the health, whatever, kubectl cluster info. If you want to display, see here, right? You can, let me just type it, what it shows. It will give the detail about the cluster, what is running, and I have also already shown this one. It will show the node of this cluster, and pod already I have shown you. And creating the apply, right? I have just shown how we have created in declarative way by mentioning the path. Here it mentioned file.yaml, but we can use this depending upon your where your files are available. Okay, yeah, this path we have to mention. Okay, okay, so okay, we are discussing here. We can mention this file name here. Okay, then deployment, that we have discussed how we can just primitive way or the imperative way we have done using this. And you can delete it. I have shown like a qctl delete pod. You can do qctl delete deployment. Also you can services, you can also deploy separately. Okay, uh, this nothing. To get a service in shortcut, we can write give kubectl or k get svc. If we have created ls for kubectl, just type k get svc. Svc is the short name of services. And exposing, you have seen I have already done that in the end, right? For exposing the service front door, sorry, uh, storefront to port 888. And in order to do replica, because we have created only one replica for our deployments, suppose you want to do any other, right? increase it to different the replica, right? For example, storefront. Storefront, right? Minus 3. Let's see. Okay, let me get what is the name of the deployment. Storefront, right? Okay, so command is, what is the command? kubectl scale deployment storefront. Okay, spelling mistake. sto storefront. Yeah. Now you can see it, three replicas. I mean, three pods are created for storefront. In order to check that, we can type this get pod. You can see three replicas got created. Okay. Similarly, we can see the logs of any pod. Okay, and you can see, for example, let me display get pod. Okay, then k logs of for example, you want to see the log of this, right? Just mention this. Okay, yeah. So this way you can see, you can view the logs of any of the pod. Okay. Similarly, there is other things are available. These commands. Okay, you can play with all these commands by yourself by provisioning, creating these images and deploying into the Minikube cluster. Namespaces also you can create. For example, if you want to create a namespace, you can write uh, create namespace. Short you can write ns. Suppose you want to create a namespace with the name dev, you can do this. Okay, now get ns, you can see dev is got created. Now in order to deploy anything, right, we can deploy using this. Suppose you want to deploy all this using uh, under the namespace dev, then what we have to do is, let me go down to the command here. Simply you can mention minus a dev, right? Okay, okay, so just have created namespace is already created. Then what, I just run this. Let me copy it. Okay, now it is got created. So in order to see that, if you remember, right, we have created three replicas of storefront. Okay, that is in the default namespace. But if we just get here, get all, get all namespace dev, we'll see one replica from each of the pod, right? One replicas. Okay, but if you display same from default, we can see storefront here. Yeah, here you can see storefront 3. Okay, so that means just to verify it, these are two different things. One is default namespace and dev is different namespace, and there are different microservices are running in sorry, in default namespace, and there is a set of microservices running in dev namespace. Okay, yeah, so these are all about the different kubectl commands. There are a couple of here as well. You can, okay, you can delete using the manifest file as well. Okay, that you can try. Suppose you want to delete, right, you can do it this way. Okay, let me copy, let me kubectl delete. Okay, in order to, if you want to delete everything from the for dev namespace, right, then you can use that this command set. Sorry, Let me copy this. Okay, so it got deleted. Just we can see here, it is deleting the services. Okay, now if I want to type get all from my dev namespace, yeah, still it's terminating. You can see, okay, not completed. It's terminating. All others are deleted, but these are terminating. After some time, we just type again. Still it's terminating. It will take few seconds. One is still there. You see, no resources are available. Okay, yeah. So there are many things are there. You can go even for Minikube. There are many other commands are available. Just go through these things. Well, one thing I have to show you Minikube dashboard. Okay, let me just check. So Minikube dashboard basically what it is a um, portal where you can see what are the different microservices are running. Okay, in our default namespace still it is running, right? And this is all in our default namespace. You can see these are the deployments. Okay, and this is the pods we have running. We have three front storefront pods are three storefronts pods are running, and a replica sheet. These are replica sheets. Okay, also we can see we have a config map. We have created this rabbit message queue and rabbit message queue enable plugins, that is also there. Okay, namespace, we have this dev is there, but we don't have any. We have deleted the microservices that we deployed under this. Okay, if you go, it shows nothing here. Hmm, but default, yeah, it is only shows the resource limit whatever, but it doesn't show what are the pods and all within this. Okay, here you can see default, it shows here this is for default namespace. Okay, and here if you suppose deployment, you can see, okay, yeah, here we can see filter. Okay, for dev namespace there is nothing is available, but if you see default one, we can see this. Okay, now if you create any microservices or deploy it on the dev, then it will show. Okay, or you can use all namespaces, means it will display everything here. Okay, okay, so that's all for today. Okay, so you go through this, try to follow these instructions whatever mentioned, and try to create the microservice, sorry, Docker images, try to push into the Docker hub, and install the Minikube and kubectl, and try to provision or um, deploy these microservices into Minikube. Okay, in the next session we will try to do the same thing using kind, that is the Kubernetes in Docker kind. So there we'll try to deploy these microservices. Okay, so thank you so much for watching this video. Please share this to your friends and colleagues, and subscribe this channel. Uh, Thank you, and see you for the in our next session. Thank you. Bye bye.